In this episode, I'm going to show you how to make a Goblin Watchtower. Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Game Terrain Engineering. In some previous episodes, I mentioned to you that there is a new game coming out, actually probably about 3 weeks, called Frostgrave Ghost Archipelago. It's a spin-off of the Frostgrave war game, and I'm really looking forward to it. I know some players here locally in Atlanta who are going to be buying the book, and I'm hoping to get some games scheduled with them. It takes place on an island, or a series of islands. It's got a jungle theme to it. And what's really interesting is it's good timing all around, because the current Dungeons & Dragons adventure that I'm running for some players at my local gaming store is it's the newest one called Tomb of Annihilation, and it also takes place on an island called Chult. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Anyway, it's just really good timing, because right now any kind of terrain that I make for Frostgrave Ghost Archipelago will also be useful to my Dungeons & Dragons campaign or game. So I've been looking at what kind of terrain overlaps. I've read the adventure book, or at least most of it, and I know where I'm going with it, and I know what I'm going to be showing to my players versus what I'm not going to be showing. And there's some overlap. There's not a lot, but there is some overlap. And so over the last week and a half, I've been drawing out some sketches and coming up with some ideas on some various pieces of terrain that I want to build. And the one I want to show you in this video, I'm very proud of. It turned out so great. What I want to do is I want to put a picture up right now, and what you're looking at is an image of an orc watchtower. I found this through a Google image search. It's copyrighted Grimoire Games. It's apparently for a game called Spellforce 3. I don't know anything about this game. I could probably look it up, but the image was out there, and I saw it. It just really appealed to me, and I thought it would be something fun to try and do. And so I did. What I did was I tried to match it as exact as I could. There are some things on it that I skipped. For example, there was a piece of leather, like a hide, that was being used for a window covering. I didn't do that. And also I ignored the rope. As you watch this video, you'll hear me mention that I was going to be using some string to, this ball of string right here, to give it some rope. And I found that it was just too small. It was too unwieldy to try and glue individual little pieces. Now, before I glued everything together, I could have wrapped the toothpicks and skewers and stuff, but that would have been a pain. And then painting it, it would have painted the rope, and I would have had to repaint the rope. So I skipped it, total skip. And so what I'm going to show you in this episode is how I made this little thing right here. It just turned out great. I just love looking at it. It has this weathered look that I just tried out. I applied sand to the base. I'll put a link in the description to the image that I used as my model, so that you could try it yourself. And if you do try it, I'd love to see your take on it. But let's take a look at how we're going to make the Goblin Watchtower, because in this instance, my players in D&D encountered about 15 goblins. They had a prisoner inside, and the players Wednesday night, just a few nights ago, I used this, and they had to go up against about 15 goblins. So let's go take a look at how you can make one. For the Goblin Watchtower, basically what I'm doing is, here's a goblin miniature, and I'm using this for scale. I don't want the tower to be super tall. I don't think these little goblins would be building, super tall towers in the jungle. So what I've got here is I've got a 6-inch length of bamboo skewer, got a whole bag of them, and a tower that's that tall, can you see that? That's just too tall. These are 6 inches. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this down to 5 inches. I'm just going to clip an inch off of each one, and I'm eyeballing this really. If I find that it's just too tall, then I'm going to be working from the top down. I'm going to start with the top part of the watchtower, and if I find that it's just too big, it's real easy to clip the bottoms of these and shorten it a little bit. Again, this is sort of trial and error. I have not made one of these yet. As a matter of fact, I cut all of these at a different length, which is not good. So I need to even them up a little bit better. They don't have to be exact, just close, okay? These are going to form the 4 corners of the watchtower, all right, like this. And what I'm going to do is, in order to make these a little, I don't know, stronger, you know, if you look at the scale of the figure, these would be a pretty thick tree, see that, for the diameter. So not extremely thick, but thick enough. But I don't think the goblins would make their watchtowers out of just one of these. So I'm going to cut these. I'm going to cut 3 more sets of 4, and for those I'm going to cut them a little shorter, and I'm going to glue these together in bundles of 3. There'll be a long one, a shorter one, and a medium one, and I will glue them sort of in a triangle pattern, and that's mainly just to give the thing like it looks a little stronger. All right, so I have a long, medium, and short. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a long, medium, and short. That will be one pillar. Long, medium, short. Here's another pillar. Long, medium, short. Long, medium, short. All right, so now what I need to do is glue these together so they stay together. For the next part of the watchtower, I'm going to be using these standard toothpicks, sharp on both ends. They're about 2.5 inches long. And I'm going to be doing 4, 4, and then locking them, you know, interlocking them like that. So I need 4 sets of these with 4 toothpicks. And when I glue these together, I'm gluing them flat like this, not as a lump, but as a wall. And I'm going to stagger the points just a little bit just to make it look a little, you know, unplanned. So I've got 4 here. I'm just going to hold them down on the mat here. And what I'm going to do is, as I apply the glue, I'm going to smooth it out and make it, you know, flat so it gets into the cracks there. And I don't care if it looks ugly because this is going to go on the inside of the watchtower. I want to make sure not to get it too close to the point. All right, spin it around and do the other side just to make sure it's pretty strong. All right, there we go. All right, I'll do 4 more of those, or 3 more of those. Let them cool well. All right, with the posts done and the top level, this is actually going to be the surrounding the floor, the top floor of the watchtower. There'll be a roof over it, but this is going to be open air. This will be where archers could stand and fire out. So what I'm going to do to strengthen this is I'm going to cut a 2-inch, well, a little less than 2-inch by 2-inch square of chipboard and glue it on the bottom of this. Now in the corners, I'm going to cut out a notch on all 4 corners, and that will be where these come up into it. And I'm going to just have to eyeball this because it's not an exact, you know, 2.5. The toothpicks are 2.5 inches, but it's going to be a little less than 2.5 because of the overlap here. So I'll just start with a 2.5 inch by 2.5 inch square, and then I'll just whittle it down as needed. I have this structure made. It's pretty solid. The chipboard is glued to the bottom to give it some strength. I've also created another set of toothpicks. These are just pairs, 2 each for 4. And what those are going to be used for is these legs will be glued in here like this. This is just going to provide the first level. This is the second level. And it's just going to be a way to secure these legs even more so they don't move. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to glue all of these, the tall legs, inside the corner here. Okay, so up go the spikes, squeeze them into the corner, right about there. I want it to be about an inch from the tip to the base of the second layer here. This is going to form where the roof goes on. Okay, that ought to do. Just work my way around. I'm just putting a big blob of glue to hold everything. As you add more details to it, like the walls for the second floor and the roof, it's going to strengthen this up. So if you find you need to strip some of this glue out, just go ahead and do it. I know I'm going to have to pull some of this glue out, like right here on the edge. You can see a big glob of it. I don't like that, but I'll tackle that once the thing is finished and I'm happy with it. So the next thing I want to do is I want to glue these onto the legs. And I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this one at a time, but with a drop and a drop. So a little there, and then I just want to sort of make the legs angle out just a hair. So I'm going to use these to do that. Okay. I'll flip it over and do this side, and I'm just eyeballing it, trying to make it roughly the same height. Okay. Okay. Now on these, you want to, make sure the tips go in between. And again, this is where it's not looking exact. I mean, this thing's got there's some imperfections, but again, that goes towards the whole, this is a goblin fortress. It's not supposed to look like it was designed by a professional architect. So if it's a little crooked, like here, I'm not going to worry about that. That adds to its realism, I guess. And then the last set of toothpicks will go in here and right there. Pull these away a little bit. Push them down. There we go. All right, so far so good. All right, so let's see. What do I want to work on now? Let's do the roof. So for that, I'm going to need a piece of chipboard, and then I will put toothpicks around the edge. And to do that, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to make the roof sit down so these points are at the top, or extend above the roof. And I think I could probably use this piece, yeah. I'm just going to trim this up a little bit by hand. Yeah, can you see that? How it's sort of at an angle, and it looks, it's not perfect. Now the chipboard, I am going to use that as the roof, but I'm going to cover it later with wood planks to give it a, look like it was put together with individual boards and not one big piece. Right now, I just need something to serve as the roof so I can continue to add the toothpick elements for detail work. So to do that, I will put some hot glue on the tips of these four. This is not looking clean at all, but I don't care about that. All right, there we go. Actually, I like the angle. I'm gonna leave it sort of at the angle here. Looks uneven, and then I think what I'll do is just add a little glue in here for just some support. Come on, stay on there. All right, what I'm doing right now, I've cut this piece of chipboard that will sort of go across here like this, but I want to cut individual planks. So I'm not measuring these out, I'm just cutting them, at a certain width, and I'm also angling them. They're not supposed to look straight and smooth. And the idea here is when I glue these on, I'm going to glue them with a lot of gaps. So, I'll put this one here, And then the next one might have, you know, like this, like that. There'll be big gaps in it. I don't want it to look perfect at all. Now, to do this, I'm not going to use the hot glue. I'm going to actually use tacky glue. That means it's going to take a little longer to dry, but I'm going to end up with less hot glue. I don't want any hot glue bubbling out from behind the planks. And I've already taken off as much spider web as I can just to get access to this. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to run some tacky glue across here like this, and then across here like this, and then I'll just place the planks. All right, like that. Now for further embellishment, I'm going to add some cross planks going, you know, this way. I'll make those a little thinner once this glue dries really well. Make sure these are all pushed down. They're warping a little bit, which is fine. I don't care if they warp. All right, so I'm going to put this sanding block, well, let's see, that ought to help. I'm going to set this heavy paint bottle on it. Hopefully it doesn't crush, but that will force the planks down and glue them into place. I'm going to do all 4 sides just like that, and then I'll come back with some more work. Just wanted to show you where I'm at. I've glued all the sides, and I've added some bracers across it. I put the roof on, and now what I'm doing is I'm just gluing different lengths of chipboard that have been cut, you know, to simulate boards that have been put on the roof. Just gluing them down in sort of a random pattern here. And if I find that it doesn't look right, I can always clip off the ends and, you know, make them a little. I've got longer ones. I've got medium length, and then I've got to fill in some of these gaps like this right here. I'll just cut a few small ones and put them on there. Make one a little longer, one a little shorter. After it's dry, I may put some cross beams across just to see what it looks like. I won't glue them down until I decide I want that on there, but I'm going to let these dry really well so they won't come off. And then I'll add some toothpicks around to simulate the you know, the sharp point. You know, I don't know what you would call them, but you know, to keep people from climbing up, I guess. So far I'm liking the look of it. Just give you an update while the glue is drying. I've mounted it to a chipboard base. I haven't decided yet how I'm going to do this, but I'm probably going to cover it with white glue and put sand and rocks and stuff on it. But by doing the base, it's going to give me something to glue the entry on. There's going to be a doorway here, and then walls and some other odds and ends that will surround it. So I needed a base, and I'll go ahead and let that dry really well before I continue on. But I've also got to get on the inside. You can see I left a hole in there. That's for a ladder that will come up from the bottom. And that's about it for now. I've got to let a lot of this glue dry, and then I'll move on to the next step. I wanted to point out, I'm making some of these little tiny hitches. I'm calling them hitches because they kind of look like horse hitch posts. And in the figure, I'm going to use them like this. They're going to be mounted in the dirt, and then there's poles, sharpened sticks that come off and are in all 4 corners of the tower. And I'm going to use, like I said, I'm going to use these as those right there. The other thing I've done is I've hot glued 2 sticks crosswise to make this pole right here. As this thing develops, I'm just going to try to find little enhancements just to make it look a little more realistic, a little more, you know, warlike. So I hope you like what you're seeing so far. I've got the basic structure made. There are a few additional details that I want to add. I need to frame out the walls on the first level here. Also inside this piece of chipboard, I want to cover it with wood planks, kind of like I did the roof here. I'm going to leave the little hole that I left for the ladder open so that you can see the ladder go, through there and then come out on the first floor. I'm going to create a front door for this. The sides are going to be walled off. This one's about half done. I may make these with a window. I haven't decided yet. The problem with a window is there'll be only one glue point for the lower pieces and the upper pieces, unless I actually want to put a frame in there, and I don't think I'll have time to do that. This is going to be used in tomorrow's game, so I've got a lot to do today. Plus I've got to paint it and then get it decorated. So lots to do today. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to work on getting the walls finished. If you look inside, you can see that I have covered the floor with the chipboard to simulate wooden planks. I've also done it on the underside here. I had to insert the ladder because once I put the walls on the two sides and the back, there was only one way to get the ladder in there, and it was through the bottom. So I figured, I haven't glued the rungs on the ladder yet, but I had to go ahead and insert those, so I've glued the base here, and I applied some glue behind the toothpicks there. Once that dries really well, I'll use some tweezers or a pair of pliers, and I'll put some rungs on the ladder down here at the bottom and up near the top. Let's see, what is next? I've got to create the poles or the Sharpie points like this to glue, here. There'll be 4 or 5 per side, and those won't be too difficult to make. And then I think I'm going to black bomb it. I'm not going to put rope on it or the string. I'm not going to put the string on it because I don't want to paint the string black. I may, after I black bomb it, I may have to paint it brown again, or some sort of gray mixed with brown to make the wood look really, weathered. This is supposed to be on an island, so the sun and the salt air, the salts and the heat, it should have weathered these boards almost to the point where there's sort of a gray, rotted look to them. So that's what I'm going to go for. Sorry for the shaky cam there. And but yeah, we're getting close, almost done. All right, I've got the ladder rungs done. I've also built up the front doorway here. It's not done yet. I've got a few more things I want to add to it. I added some random poles to the sides just to, give it a, thrown together look. And the glue all over the chipboard is just, I was just playing around with it, trying to give the chipboard an uneven surface. But I think what I'm going to do is just cover the whole thing with PVA glue and then put some rocks and sand and do that. So I'm really liking how this thing's turned out. Almost done. I've got a few more embellishments to add to it, and then I will black bomb it. And there you have it, one Goblin Watchtower. I'm going to be using this in my game tonight, so this video will go live tomorrow, so it won't be any big surprise. But tonight, the party is going to, in the jungle, they're going to encounter a small tribe of goblins who have a kidnap victim inside. So hopefully they don't decide to burn this down. Anyway, I hope you like it. It really looks good. I don't know if the weathering shows up in the video, but it's got the brown mixed with the gray. The wood is sort of rotting or weathered, and it just looks outstanding. Now you may notice I didn't go with string on it. I tried it, it just didn't look right. So I'm just going to stick with it the way it is. And it's pretty close to the image that I shared with you earlier in the video. I really like it, and I hope you may try your hand at making one. Very simple. Skewers, toothpicks, cardboard or chipboard or cereal box, the cereal box material, and that's it. No 3D printing, no fancy equipment needed. Just one, looks like it's going to collapse, Goblin Tower. So, hope you like it. Any comments you have, post below, and I'll do my best to answer them, and I will see you in the next episode.